Hello everyone, my name is Larseth, and welcome back to, after quite a while now, I think it's been over a month, my first video, this first video for this patch on the development diaries in EU4. I haven't been able to do these of late because I've actually been really busy in real life, so I just haven't had time, basically. But having briefly looked over these, there's a lot of stuff that's really interesting coming up in the next patch, which it coincides with the next expansion. So patch 120 will be the next expansion, I believe, although it hasn't actually been announced or named yet, I don't believe. Anywho, what I'll do is I'll make a video. There've been 3 dev diaries that have come out. I'll make a video for each, just to make it, organized, and I'll release them all pretty much at the same time, because obviously I'm quite far behind. So this stuff like this will be more for people who just don't look at the dev diaries. But this first one is a very short one, but it's actually really interesting. So this one was done by Johan, or I think that's how you pronounce it. And is basically going over 2, I guess it's sort of one new feature which is coming up in next expansion, and it's sort of a yin and a yang. So you've got devastation, which is essentially, I guess it functions in a similar way to unrest, in that it ranges from, actually no, maybe not, maybe unrest is a bad one, maybe corruption's a better comparison. It ranges from 0 to 100%, and basically the higher you go, the worse it is. So it affects your autonomy, supply limits, goods. So basically it's like essentially a massive financial penalty, I guess. And then you have also the supply limits. So increasing devastation actually is quite easy. Like, as you can see here, looting provinces increases it by 5%. Scorched Earth increases it by 25%. And the reduction is actually it's not that great. It's 1% per year reduction, unless you have 4, in which case it's 2% for each fort level. And if you have unrest, well, guess what? Devastation goes up as well. So you might be thinking, well, what the hell's the point in this? Like, it's just a massive... there's nothing good about it. And as they sort of hint to here, this is very much aimed at, I guess, like, really turning areas of the globe that are, like, embroiled in constant warfare into sort of a no man's land, sort of, like, in terms of financially anyway. So places like northern Italy, for example, or maybe places along the French HRE border, where there is lots of constant, continuous warfare going on, might actually see, penalties because of that. The constant warfare will reduce supply limits, which means that attrition will be a lot higher. And then obviously there's all the other financial penalties that come with it, which I actually really like this feature in terms of it makes war feel a lot more brutal in this game, in that it does have a lot more long-standing effects. Because, like, currently in the game, there's not, like, once you go into war, once you're done with the war, generally speaking, you only have manpower, unrest, and war exhaustion to really worry about. And if you take provinces, overextension, but I won't really include that. So you have those to worry about, but they all go down pretty fast. And the rate at which this goes down, you're going to be worrying about this for a long time afterwards. So if you're in a really long war, this will cause you problems for quite a while. If you'll, so hypothetically, if I'm France and I really want to cripple Austria, or vice versa, I could just go and loot a load of their provinces, rack up their devastation, and really cause them some problems. I just think it makes the whole sort of, I don't know, it makes war in this game something that's a lot more brutal. which, you know, is essentially sort of a bit more realistic, I guess, because obviously war is never this, you know, nice thing that you declare willy-nilly. So there's that. So you might be thinking, oh yeah, that's all negative, which primarily it is, which is why, to counterbalance that, there is another, I guess, it's part of the same feature as what I was saying, sort of yin and yang. The opposite of that being prosperity. So prosperity is based on state level. So if you have 0 devastation in states, and in a state, sorry, in all the provinces in a state, and your positive stability, you will get a ticking modifier, essentially, which goes up to 100%. And in this case, obviously going up to 100% is a good thing. And when you get there, you will get a minus 10% to development cost and 25% bonus to goods produced, which is, again, a really good thing. So I think the way this is going to work is for provinces that are sort of on your borders and are generally the ones which will be closer to sort of the regions of, you know, where wars are taking place. We'll probably see higher devastation, whereas sort of your more internal provinces, and especially around your capital, you would hope would end up benefiting from prosperity. I guess maybe this is going, sort of implies, you know, you have a central sort of space, safe space almost within your nation, whereby your provinces can get prosperity. Some nations, I imagine this will be an absolute pain to deal with. If you're quite sort of a snaky nation, you've got like no depth in your territories. So I don't know what one to maybe would be an example. So like an example of quite a deep nation might be France, because although they have quite a large border at the start, well, once they've consolidated all of their vassals and stuff, once they have a large border, but they also have a lot of provinces which are not on a border at all. Another example of that would probably be the Ottomans. Again, a lot of provinces that aren't bordering anything, so probably won't be, you know, sieged down immediately or looted immediately unless they're really losing a war quite heavily. So this actually sounds really interesting. So I like the way they're going with adding sort of all of these. You might argue it's making it more and more complex, and they're just sort of needless mechanics that don't really offer anything. But I quite like this one, because I think it really does bring some longer-term consequences for war, not just to the aggressor, but to the defender. Not just to the defender, but to the aggressor as well. Because unless you are in a war where you just, like, wipe the floor with your opposition, you know, you're probably going to have some of your provinces looted as well. So, you know, you have something to lose even if you win, which I think is really good thing. So I'll end this episode here. I'll make another one for the next 2 dev diaries, otherwise the video will be way too long. And I will speak to you in the next episode. So thank you very much for watching. Take care.